Hey all you submariners out there, welcome back to Cold Waters. This is Matt, and today we're going to continue on with the elite level campaign that I started. This would be the 5th installment. And so today our first mission is to head over to the Denmark Strait to intercept a Soviet cruise missile submarine that is going to be passing through there. Like on the way, I kind of toyed with the idea of attacking that surface group, but I felt like he was trying to bait me away from the area where I'm supposed to go. So instead I just decided to head for the Denmark Strait and wait. I can see up north in the Greenland Sea that I believe that's my target heading my way, and now he does show heading right in my direction, so I'm just going to wait. And we got a contact bearing 9-2, our bearing's 27, so be off to my right by about 70 degrees or so, a little bit less than 70 degrees. So I'll rig the ship for ultra quiet, and right away I do have that target Sierra 1 showing up here on the TMA map. So I'm going to classify that target, and it comes up as a Charlie 2, which makes sense considering the type of mission this is. Shows a weak layer, and so I decide that right away I'm going to dive down to about 500 feet, which I think is a good depth to work from right here, since there's no bottom. 500 feet is a good starting depth anyway, and I can see that as I'm descending that so is the Charlie 2, so we seem to be matching one another here in our decisions. Both below the layer, so that really shouldn't come into play here at all. So right now what I'm doing is keeping the same course, which really allows my towed array to get a good look at the Charlie 2 here. So that's what I'm doing right now. That's why I'm not turning or anything as I'm descending. I'm just keeping my towed array pointed in the direction of the Charlie 2, and as I do so, my solution continues to improve, which is good. Right now sonar has the target at about 15,000 yards, and my solution's at 44% and rising. The bearing is 9.6, and the estimated speed is going to be 10 knots or below. So as my solution continues to rise, I'm really going to start thinking about shooting on this guy, because I think that he's at least as close as he shows or closer. So I start putting myself in a position to do just that. I use the helm control to plot a course to point towards the Charlie 2. I'm going to prepare my weapon to make sure that it's ready to go. In this case, I've decided to leave it to fire it and to have it stay on my depth when it launches. So I'm coming around to the right, trying to come around to course 10099, something to that effect. Just waiting to come around here, and so very soon I'm going to decide to shoot. I'm close enough. I line it up properly. Set the activation range to about 1.600 yards, that is, and launch the torpedo. Now, right away, he does not ping me with active sonar.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
And as soon as the weapon goes active, it does pick up the Charlie 2, which means that he's a lot closer than he appeared. Still not getting pinged with any active sonar at this point, which leads me to believe he may not know that the weapon is coming in towards him, but now he has pinged, so it seems like he knows. He's starting to cavitate. He's had his brown trouser moment, and now he's trying to evade. But I don't put his chances at being very good. This weapon has him dead to rights, and he really has no room to maneuver. So I take the weapon active, just so I can get the best possible solution on him and feel like if I need to steer the weapon that I can do so without feeling like I'm cheating or anything in any way. So that we see the weapon comes around, hits him amidships, and that's enough to take out Charlie 2 one shot. So the next thing I'm going to do here is set a course to take me to the sinking Charlie 2, take me in his direction, because if I'm worried that he may have some escorts, and the best way to smoke them out is to go around the area where the sinking happened, because they usually come around to investigate, and that would be the best place to pick them back up. So I do consider doing that, but then decide that perhaps that's it, and I check, and yeah, it happens that Charlie 2 was the only vessel on this mission. So the Admiral congratulates me for sinking it, and I'm just going to move on to the next mission. Looks like we made the newspaper again. And the next mission is to take out a Spetznaz commando team launching from a submarine in the vicinity of Reykjavik, Keflavik. I'm going to make sure that my weapons are loaded properly here. And then, even though, like, I set myself up here to be able to intercept the submarine coming from either direction, whether it goes through the Denmark Strait and down, or comes up from the south and up, I'm in a good position to intercept. And I can tell you right now that I'm very tempted to head out into the Norwegian Sea and take advantage of some of these targets that are being lit up by our maritime patrol aircraft. But right now is not the best time to do that with a possible Spetznaz team heading for Iceland. So I'm going to be very patient. I'm going to bide my time, and I'm going to wait for that target to show up. Even though I'm well aware of the many targets available to me over there in the Greenland Sea, Norwegian Sea area. Very tempting. So now I do see what I believe to be my target heading up towards the Denmark Strait, so I'll put myself in a position to really head him off. Make it so that he doesn't have much of a choice but to get near me here to go by, and put myself in a perfect place. Bearing 114, my bearing's 54, so about 60 degrees off to my right. Close to 15,000 yards.
Ultra quiet.
Then rig for ultra quiet. Immediately I do have a target in the direction that the pre-mission briefing told me to expect it in. So I'm going to try to classify this target, going through, and this does appear to be a diesel electric sub.
One is classified as submerged submarine.
So this Foxtrot is going to be the sub containing the varying the Spetznaz commandos.
Submarine.
Right now I have a solution of 45%, range about 12.1 thousand yards, and sonar says that he's moving at 8 knots, a little bit above 8 knots. So because he's my only target, and because he's moving fairly close to being in great torpedo range, I'm going to turn immediately and attack this target.
Make depth 400 feet, dive by.
So I decide at this point, I was a little bit uncertain of what depth I should be at. I'm dealing with a layer, 250 to 300 feet, so I wanted to take that into account when I picked my depth.
Sonar lost contact. Sierra 1. Last bearing 1.
And I've picked up another target now, the Victor 1, which is the nuclear attack submarine escort to the Foxtrot. Picked him up to the north, to the northwest a little bit. But I'm going to continue with my turn, even though I've lost the Foxtrot. Sonar lost that contact. I'd imagine he's still just about in the direction that sonar had him last, so I'm not going to stop now. I'm going to fire a weapon in his direction. Just going to fire that weapon right now.
2-1. Aye, sir.
Okay. He's still my primary concern right now, because he is the closest. He's also my mission target, so I'm going to pay attention to him. I'd like to take him out first if possible. Now you can tell right now that neither the Victor nor the Foxtrot were able to hear that weapon be launched. Neither one of them has reacted in any way. There's no sonar, active sonar being sent in my direction.
Control. Weapon acquired.
So the weapon has acquired now on the Foxtrot, so he must be nearby, more nearby than sonar had him. There seems to be a recurring theme. Maybe you'll pick up on that in all my videos. This weapon stands very little chance of missing the Foxtrot right now. had to do something awful special. So we're just going to watch this approach. Meanwhile, still no sign that the Victor 1 has picked up the launch, which is not necessarily out of the ordinary. Those Victor boats are pretty old at this point, even in 1984. They're nuke boats, but definitely not some of the Soviets' best nuke boats. So this guy didn't even react. I don't think he had any clue this was coming.
Con sonar lost contact.
And that was a cool enough shot that I didn't even need to see it. Now you can see the Victor did hear that. There's no question. He's pulling like a handbrake turn right now, turning hard left, heading in my direction. He's not pinging me on sonar, but my passive sonar has him moving at about 26 knots, which means he is deaf as a post right now. He's not going to be able to hear anything. So this launch, I'm not too worried about him hearing it. I'm going to wait just a little bit longer for his course to settle up here. Make sure he's done with his turn. He's heading right for me. More or less top speed. Maybe all ahead full, not all ahead flank, but he's moving very quickly. To the point where his already limited sonar suite is definitely not going to be able to hear a thing. I'm just trying to turn in his direction. I want to keep the wire if possible. There's no reason why in this case I need to necessarily rush. Because even at 26 knots, there's no way he can fire a weapon at me either. So I'm quite safe right now.
Room, tube 1 ready.
Looks like he's keeping up with his speed. I'm almost ready now to fire this weapon.
2. Aye, sir.
So here we go. Victor 1 heading in, still at 26 knots. He's just within 8,000 yards of me now. My solution on him is 95%, so I'm quite confident that that's exactly where he is. So I don't foresee any difficulties with this target. My weapon is also right, almost exactly at his depth, so that's another thing that should make this interception quite simple. Because he's at 95% solution, I don't have a problem steering the weapon in his direction. Don't feel bad about that at all. I have enough information that even if I was steering totally going by the TMA map, that I would get him anyway. So the weapon's active. It's tracking him. You see, now he knows there's a weapon incoming. He did hear that, and he is going to pull a hard turn to the left in hopes of throwing off the weapon. But because I have the wire, easily able to account for that, and there's not a whole lot he can do. Just going to watch this weapon approach. He's moving away from me at 29 knots. He's now at flank for sure. I expect that speed to go up to maybe 32, 33 knots. Maybe. He just made 30 there. The weapon goes in a countermeasure homing, but it doesn't matter. I have control. I'm steering it. And right amidships.
0, 2.
And one weapon is enough to take him down. I almost decided to leave the mission there. I could. There are no other vessels around, but I decided to just stick around a little bit longer, maybe to get a better view of the Victor as it descends. Also, just in case there might be somebody else around, I gave it another minute or so just to see, but doesn't appear to be. So I'll leave combat, and it seems like it was just the Victor and the Foxtrot this time, so I didn't miss anybody. The Admiral's happy, and looks like I got myself another medal. Legion of Merit medal. Look at the bling. This is the nicest medal of all, I'd have to say. Definitely went all out on this one. And I believe that would be the last medal that you can get, actually. Having played through a few campaigns, the Legion of Merit is the last medal I believe you can get. So, and the next mission is Wolfpack of enemy diesel electric attack subs, and trying to transit the GIUK area. Luckily, I'm already around that area anyway, so it shouldn't be a difficulty getting there on time. Up in the Denmark Strait, I come down south, skirting around Iceland, and I'm going to put myself in a position where I can intercept any submarines trying to transit through the GI-UK gap. Okay, looks like we are doing well here in the war. Our ground troops have just freed Norway, which is great. And once again, I can see some targets there in the Norwegian Sea, up near, towards the Greenland Sea, but I'm going to just leave them be for now. I'm more worried about the mission here with the attack subs. I want to try to do all the missions I possibly can right now, early in the war, to maybe free me up a little bit later if I want to maybe go a little bit more freelance, if you will. But right now, I'm going to do all the missions until certain ones come up, and then I'm going to consider maybe doing my own thing at that point. So I see the target crossing the Norwegian Sea. That has to be who I'm going for. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. I expect him to come generally my direction. He ends up being a little bit farther south. And I was able to intercept. Bearing 125, and my heading is 124, so we're heading right straight for the target right now. And
Rig ship for ultra quiet.
yeah, rig for ultra quiet. The first target is there, Sierra 1. I'm going to try to classify. Right now, the sonar reading is not great. I only really see a couple lines very clearly, so it's hard for me to tell. So I decide, because I'm above the layer, I may come down below the layer, which may make my sonar reception somewhat better. But for now, I'm going to try to do my best with what I have, going through the catalog, and quite certain it's not a nuclear attack sub. So this should be the group of submarines that I'm looking for. Right now I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's definitely going to be a diesel electric sub. My solution's at 45%, and sonar has them at 14.7 thousand yards. But we all know how that goes, probably closer than that.
Sonar, Sierra 1.
Yeah, I'm going to classify it as a Romeo right now, but I'm really not certain. We'll call it a placeholder classification for right now. But I am certain enough that I believe I can shoot, so I'll do that. My solution's at 51%, which for me is plenty. And I'll get a weapon in the water. There is no sign right now that he's aware that there's a weapon heading in his direction. I like to keep it that way. Looks like we're both descending.
Weapon acquired.
And within 40 seconds of launching that weapon, it did acquire. Does not appear to be aware of that right now. Still just tooling along at 9 knots or below. And I'll take the weapon active because I like messing with these guys. I know it must just scare the crap out of whoever's on the other end, so that's why I'll take it. I'll take it active just for the effect that I'm sure it has on the target. Now the next target shows up. Sierra 2 seems to be classified as, it looks like a whiskey, but I'm going through all of the other ones, all of the other diesel boats just to see.
Sierra 2 is classified as submerged submarine.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
So I'm going to fire on the whiskey, even though I'm not in the best position for that to hit the wire. Switch back to the weapon just in time to watch it take out the Romeo. So the timing there is pretty great. As soon as I launched that weapon at the whiskey, the wire broke. So right now I don't have any control over it. It's going to go to the distance where I set it to activate, and there's nothing I can do with it. Now that weapon is going to be totally on internal control. I'm going to reload the tubes while I can. No sign that the whiskey knows there's a weapon incoming right now. And because this shot is a little bit longer, eventually I will speed things up here a little bit just to get the torpedo out a little bit closer to the target to avoid taking too long. So I'll watch it for a little bit there, and then I'm just going to speed up time to get it out there.
Con,
So,
copy room, tube 1 ready.
the weapon has now turned white, which means it's active and heading out, and it changed directions suddenly like that. It means it has acquired. The whiskey has been detected, and this weapon has locked on.
Con sonar, Sierra 1 is cavitating.
And he definitely knows now he's cavitating, trying to evade. So we'll watch the weapon.
Noisemaker bearing 078.
So the weapon goes into countermeasure homing because I don't have control. There's nothing I can do about it. We're going to have to let this weapon do its thing, which maybe is more interesting to watch in a way. I'm not sure, but I'd rather have the wire if possible, but these Mark 48 torpedoes are quite intelligent. Their AI is quite intelligent, so not too worried about it. And it's got him now. There's no way he's getting out of this. This whiskey is down. Really,
last bearing.
a Los Angeles class against 2 diesel electric subs. Not really what I would call a fair fight. And look, there was a Foxtrot there that I didn't detect, but the Admiral says he's happy enough with me taking out 2 out of 3, so that's fine. Made the newspaper again. And so the next mission actually is the TLAM mission, the launching the Tomahawk cruise missiles, which is one of those missions that I would say is one that I can skip in order to do something else. So I'm going to do that actually. I'm going to head back to Holy Lock, because this mission gives me a chance to reload. The tonnage so far, 257,380 tons of shipping, which is pretty great for 37 days at war. So I'm going to go into rearm, and while members of my crew keep the Admiral busy, I'm going to avoid the TLAMs. I'm going to load 1 more Harpoon missile, and the rest with torpedoes, and then I'm going to head out into the Atlantic, into the Norwegian Sea, into the Greenland Sea, and I'm going to go rogue. I will save it here, and then call it a mission. And I hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and that I'll see you again next time. Have a great day.